Hi everyone. Today is Wednesday, April the 27th, 2022. And those of you who listen to what I have to say for finance and market reasons know that I have a tad bit of a spiritual bent. And today, this is the phrase from the Bible that was coming in my head when I was, looking at the markets rolling over. Render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. Why? Why did that come to mind? And it's because your money, in quotes, your money is not actually your money. I have said this before. If you read a dollar bill, it says note. And a note is a bond. And a bond is, a bond is a debt note. It's an instrument, and it's a promise. Actually, a bond is a promise. A promise for what? A promise to repay. Well, who is promising to repay? And in what terms? Those are important questions. Not just philosophically, but monetarily. Those are important questions that people don't think about when everything is going okay in the market, and people's lifestyles are fine and everything. People don't think about that. But when you actually think about it, who is promising to pay whom, for what, and by when, and at what interest rate? Those are the important questions. And I'll try to answer them all. Because to the extent that I know things about finance, I do actually know the answer to this thing. But it might be complicated if I state it in just one sentence. Because who's promising to pay is the private banking system of the Federal Reserve is promising to pay you, as in we the people, back this money at no interest. And how are they planning to pay it back? With money that they themselves will print. So it's like they have this perpetuity bond is what they have, I can't even say zero interest rate. It's actually a negative interest rate, because you take the interest rate that you receive from your bank account of 0.2, 3, God knows what. I mean, I'm talking like savings account, checking account, those kind. And then you take that, and you take your rate of inflation and you subtract it. You're in negative territory, baby. We've been there for a while now. All right. So that is what it is. Now, why would the sentence "render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's" come to mind when I think about this? Because so if this currency, right, is a debt obligation and a promise to pay back, who is this a deal between? This is a deal between the U.S. Treasury and the Federal Reserve Banking System, which is a group, by the way, of 12 private banks. It is not a government enterprise, despite the name. It is almost as if, and I may have said this either to friends one-on-one or in a video, but it's almost as if I renamed myself Miss Skinny White. I'm neither skinny nor white. So that's what the naming of the Federal Reserve as federal is, because they're not federal. Actually, they're a private banking enterprise, a group of 12 private banks. And actually, effective March 2020, yes, that's right. While we were all, terrified out of our skulls about catching something and then dying in isolation with not saying goodbye to anybody and all that, while we were doing that, they passed this law or whatever. They passed a thing wherein they are not required actually to hold any reserves. None. They removed the reserve requirement. So at this point, they're neither federal nor reserve. So, but regardless, that's beside the point to this rendering unto Caesar thing. So this is an obligation for all debts, public and private. That's what it says on a dollar bill. Let me see. What is it? Here, I have it. Here we go. Where does it say? This note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. Yes, Federal Reserve note. Yeah, Federal Reserve note. And my dear Alexander Hamilton, the originator of all this crap. Although the musical is beautiful, I must say. Okay, so this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. I need to explain each word properly. This note, this debt obligation of the Federal Reserve Bank, that's what it says, is legal tender, which means you require this paper in order to pay your taxes, whether it's property taxes, sales tax, whatever tax. You need this. That's what legal tender means, because you can't pay you can't write a different promissory note, and say, here, take this instead. How about this instead? No, you can't do that. This note, this bond note, it's not a love note. It is a bond note. It's and what is bond? Think about it. If you're S&M friendly, bond note, bondage, slavery, debt obligation, debt, slavery. That's why also in astrology, that's the 8th house of debt, taxes, sex, or but like the other, the more like the bondage type, all that's all 8th house matters, right? This is why. Yeah. So this note, sorry, that went way off track. This note is legal tender, which means this is what you need, people. This is what you need, people, to pay all debts, public and private. Now let's take those two words, public and private. What is public debt? Public means, in finance parlance, public means government stuff. That's public. And private is like you personally, which means you are legally obliged to pay in this unit of measure, even if you privately between two people take a loan between yourselves to transact. If you think about the Constitution, actually, this business of like counterfeiting, and this is not fake money, this is actual money I got from actual money, an actual note that I got. This is not toy money, but anyways, I got it from the J.P. Morgan Chase Bank. But that's not the point. The point is, in the Constitution, it says that you cannot do this paper Ponzi scheme. You have to back it with something real, like gold, like silver. And why did our founding fathers in 1776, or like even before that, why did they fight for this? Incidentally, that was also the last Pluto return of, the planets were in basically the exact same position astrologically as they are now. Okay, so why did our founding fathers do this? Why did they put it in the Constitution that we don't want this paper Ponzi scheme? We want actual specie, is what they call it, like actual gold and silver. Why? Because the British, who they were trying to get the frack away from and get their freedom from, the British said, well, we'll send you, like, you need our paper, our stamp, basically. That was the whole stamp tax, stamp duty, that kind of thing. You need our paper, and you have to send us your gold in order to get our paper. And they were like, screw that, like, we'll make our own goddamn paper. And that's how the whole greenback thing came up, and and all of that, right? That's how in 1770s all this came up. So and that's what it means. So at that time, like, why was it such a big revolution? Because it was almost like now with the whole Bitcoin thing, right? It's like these American revolutionaries who were actually, British revolutionaries trying to get freedom. They freedom from the British debt enslavement bullshit Ponzi scheme. They said, well, no, we're not going to put up with this shit. We want our private money, hence the greenbacks, hence the the gold backing, all of that stuff. All right. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, you always return to a network where a trustless network, a network where trust is not required because you're interacting with strangers. And then once that changes, then you kind of go into the whole promissory note system, and the bullshit begins again, pretty much. But anyway, so that's what we were trying to get away from. And that's why this whole thing, that's how this whole thing came about. And so now, this public and private, all debts public and private, what this means is you need this paper in order to pay back the government's obligations as well as your own. Just think about that. So if our country is in as much debt as it is, what is it now, 29 trillion? Then we, the people, need to render back to Caesar that which is Caesar's, the debt obligations. Yeah. Anyways, there's still a lot more I can say about this, but I reached home, so that concludes today's ramble of the day. Take care. Bye.